Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to our regular council session for Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. Welcome our staff and council and the visitors in the gallery. So welcome everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. We acknowledge that we're in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Would you call the roll, shall we, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. Mayor Scott.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Joseph.
Present.
Councillor Poole.
Present.
Councillor Gilroy.
Present.
Councillor Hotelling. Present. Councillor Redmond.
Present.
Councillor McCormick. Present. Councillor Porter.
Present.
And Councillor Goodwin.
Present.
Yep. Thank you, Shelley. That bring on the agenda 2.1 approval agenda. So just before we do that, so everyone knows that I'm not real keen on adding to the agenda. None of us are, but however, I would ask for council's agreement in this case. I would like to add Bill 340, Municipal Government Act review legislation. I'd like to add that under 6.4, something that will really impact our municipality financial wise. And the second thing is, I'd like to remove 2.4.1, public hearing rezoning of Merville Rushton building movers limited Little River. So with those two amendments, I'd ask for approval of the agenda as amended, please. Moved by Councillor Gilroy, second by Councillor Telling. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. So 2.2 is approval of minutes. So we have two sets of minutes to approve. Recommended motion is the minutes of the September 27th, 2023 regular council meeting be approved. Ask for motion to that regard, please. Moved by Councillor McCormick, second by Councillor Porter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion is carried. And the second set of minutes would be the minutes of the October 4th, 2023 special council meeting be approved. Moved by Councillor Gould, seconded by Councillor Gilroy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 2.3 business rising. Mr. Harrett's going to lead us through the business rising.
Thank you, Your Worship. Business arising from from council, various council meetings is at page 15, 16, 17, and 18 in council's package. So there's a lot and a lot coming. So first on page 15, business arising from the September 27th council meeting. Second reading, moving forward, scheduling second reading and rezoning for Scally and Powell, that is complete. Scheduling public hearing for rezoning of Merville Rushton building movers is marked complete. It was on today's agenda, but it has been removed today, deferred. So we'll have to mark that as outstanding. Number 3 is advertising approval, second reading rezoning Felder Shore properties, and that's complete. We can say the same for the Sergeant Perrin lands in Parsbro. The follow-up on the repealed carbon surcharge fund policy is complete. Sale of lands to Mark Habib is complete. In fact, the ink is probably not quite dry on that document. That is done. The approval of the IT services supervisor position and the citizen engagement coordinator position, those items are both complete. Another item that is marked complete, but due to circumstances is still outstanding, and that's the Miller waste routes discussion to the October 11th committee of the whole meeting. That is not quite complete yet. A little bit of a journey there, but we're getting there. Number 10 is completion of the purchase of a 2.85 acre property at the corner of Farrell and Templar in Parsbro for the purchase of land for the planned new Parsbro Fire Hall, and that is complete. And changes for the October committee of the whole is complete as well. Demolition order. There are a number of demolition orders. I'm not going to read them all. I don't think they begin at number 12 and they continue along to 19. Those will reflect decisions that council made at a special meeting with respect to a number of items brought forward by staff on requesting demolition orders. And so they're for council's reading. Stop there and ask if there's any questions, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments from Mr. Harrett regards his report to this point? Seeing none, carry on, please.
Moving on. Thank you, Your Worship, to ongoing action list, and that's at page 17. The follow-up from the approval of the hoist solution for the public works here in Upper Napan is complete. Corresponds to the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs requesting an amendment to the MGA regarding publishing in local papers for planning and development notices. And that says in progress. In fact, that is done. That is complete. Capital budget amendment to facilitate the construction of fire halls in Spring Hill and Parsboro to $6.3 million, and that adjustment has been made. There are a number of requests that council has dealt with over the past few months with respect to the Christie Smith Foundation. And the way the process works with us is they'll send them to us to determine whether we're willing to accept the funds and pass them along. Based on that, the applications then go to the Christie Smith Foundation for final approval. Some of these have been declined at the Christie Smith Foundation stage, and so if there's a little bit of a wrinkle, you'll see that in the follow-up. We're working on a better process with that organization, and those conversations are going well. But in terms of tidying these ones up, Cobequid Fund Tones, that request has been denied by the Christie Smith Foundation, so we've marked it as complete. Meadow Park Recreation Society, that is complete, and those funds have flowed. The Hastings Road Rec Society request, that has been declined by the foundation, and so we're marking that complete. CGSMA dissolution is in progress. I hope to have that done this calendar year. The Christie Smith Foundation grant to the Pugwash Farmers Market has been declined, and so we've marked that as complete as well. Technical equipment for hybrid meetings is in progress. Good news on that is that we understand that the pieces of technical equipment that had been back ordered for many months are now available, and so we expect to have some progress on that in the next few weeks. That is our hope. Couldn't say that before. Now on to page 18, public highway signage bylaw. Again, waiting approval from the Minister of Public Works, and I know that's been around for a long time, but that's what I can report to you at this point. Sale of surplus properties at 22 Drummond, that closed. 22 Drummond in Spring Hill. We tendered that and we closed with no offers. We're going to bring that back to council with some other options real soon. And the sale of surplus properties, 12 Clark Street in Spring Hill, is still legal counsel. There's a complication with not with title, but the configuration of those lots and the PIDs. Happy to try to answer any questions the council has on those items, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Harrop in regards to his report? Councilor Telling. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's like I had an auction. Put your hand up, too, right? Any questions or comments, Mr. Harrop? Deputy Mayor Joseph.
Just a comment, look at what's going on and what's been achieved and what's been completed and I just want to pass on to the CEO, but more importantly, their staff of the great work they've been doing so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We certainly appreciate that.
Great. So move on to 2.4 presentation public hearing. So as you know, we removed the one that we have for today. So no strategic priority issues, major organizational items. So I'd ask for indulgence of a council to move 6.1, which is extended producer responsibility, up ahead of the deputy mayor election. If everyone's okay with that, we'll do that, and just for scheduling purposes. So I believe, Mr. Harrop, you're going to lead us in that at 6.1.
I am. Thank you, Your Worship, and have Brenda Ryu, who's the solid waste education coordinator.
Welcome, Brenda.
Right title. And by MOU, Town of Amherst and the County of Cumberland both benefit from Brenda's great work. The issue before council is extended producer responsibility, or EPR for short. For a number of years, NSFM and municipalities in the province have been advocating to the province to bring in extended producer responsibility, whereby the companies who actually produce the packaging are responsible for the collection and disposition of it, thereby removing the cost from the municipal and taxpayer shoulders. So earlier this year in the summer, the province approved the new regulations with respect to EPR. Part of those part of those regulations require municipalities who are interested in continuing the conversation to register with Divert Nova Scotia, who is administering the program in part on behalf of the province of Nova Scotia, to register with Divert Nova Scotia to opt in to EPR. We're required to do that and register and provide some data by January 1st. By opting in, council would simply be agreeing to have further conversations with the producer responsibility organization, PRO, and there will be further negotiations as we continue. It's expected that this will save municipalities collectively millions of dollars, but we don't know exactly what it looks like. If we opt in, we would expect to have a conversation with the producer organization about what the arrangements might be for collection and whether we might enter into an agreement with them for collection of the material, or whether we would be relying on them to do it. In the package, there is both a memo from Brenda. Thank you for that, Brenda, that I borrowed from liberally in putting together the RFP. And a number of slides that were produced by the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, EPR regulations. Your worship, the motion that's there, the suggested motion of the council is that the municipality register with Divert to opt into EPR and proceed to provide that information, and further that we initiate conversations with the town of Amherst on the possibility of an integrated approach to subsequent negotiations with the producer responsibility organization. Because our collection systems are so integrated, I think that probably makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to answer any questions, but more importantly, Brenda is happy to answer any questions. I believe, your worship, that this is, if there is a such thing as a no-brainer, this is one, and that it's clear that council should, in my opinion, decide to opt in and see what the future holds when we have those conversations. So, your worship.
Thank you. So if we're going to have any questions for Brenda, I'll ask Brenda to come to the table so that she can identify herself and be ready to answer any questions. Brenda, just in case. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Just before we get to that, so there is, as Mr. Harrop mentioned, there is a recommended motion that the municipality register with Divert Nova Scotia to opt into EPR and proceed to provide the required information. And further, given that our collection and education systems are integrated with the town of Amherst, the staff be directed to initiate discussions with the town of Amherst on the possibility of an integrated approach to subsequent negotiations with the producer responsibility organization. Someone would like to make that motion. Moved by Councillor Hotelling, seconded by Councillor Gould. Questions, comments for either Brenda and or Mr. Harrop, please. Councillor Hotelling, please.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I just wanted to add that on top of the savings through this program, it has been implemented in most other provinces, and some of the outcomes are also that the big producers tend to use less packaging or better packaging because of the program. So I just wanted to add that as a.
Thank you, Councillor Hotelling. Any questions or comments for Mr. Harrop or Brenda? Deputy Mayor Joseph.
Not really questions or comment. I think it's a great step forward. I mean, we sit here talk about it, but there's no action. So if we, in the word of divert, I am all for it. Thank you, your worship.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call. You're getting off it. Easy, Brenda. If there's none, then we'll call with the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Aren't you minded nay? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Brenda. Appreciate it.
Good luck
Take your
with
time.
the soccer game.
Thank you. Well, that brings us down to 4.1 deputy mayor election. So so the business now is for, as we do annually at this time of year, to elect a deputy mayor. So I'd like now to anyone that would like to nominate anyone or council themselves like to nominate themselves, I'd ask for them to indicate that now by raising a hand and nomination, please. Councillor Gould.
Thank you, your worship. I'd like to nominate Rod Gilroy as deputy mayor.
Okay, and it does not require a seconder. So Councillor Gilroy, if you were so elected, would you be ready to serve?
I will.
Good, sir. Any further nominations? So 3 times. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? Any further nominations? This will be the easiest election you ever had, guaranteed. Seeing none, I'll now declare nominations closed. Yeah, I just want to make sure I was going to get.
Yep.
So I'd like to ask for a motion to elect Deputy Mayor Gilroy. I'm going to get used to saying that now, eh? Deputy Mayor Gilroy as the new deputy mayor, moved by Councillor Gould. Seconded by Councillor McCormick. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor Gilroy.
Your worship, Mr. Hare. So just so we're clear, section 8 of the policy talks about the expiry of the office. So the current deputy mayor stays in office until the beginning of the meeting following October 31st. So it's not until the beginning of the next meeting that we have deputy mayor.
So Deputy Mayor Gilroy elect.
Exactly.
And I'll repeat it. That was the easiest election is going to come across, isn't it? Anyway, I just do want to say before we move on, the Deputy Mayor Joseph, thank you very much for your service, sir. I got to tell you, over the past year, just as Councillor Hoteling did and as Councillor Redmond did, you offered on many occasions to step in to help me out whatever I needed your appearance, to line up to sign, 1,000 checks that are always before us and anyway, on behalf of the municipality to step in whenever it was needed. And I really, truly appreciate it. I appreciate what you've done over the past year and thank you for accepting to do that. Thank you, sir. That brings us down to number 5, organizational policy bylaw items. 5.1, second reading of the Scallion Powell Wentworth, Mr. Boone, Director of Development Planning.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon. The application before you is for second reading as per your package. This application was reviewed at the public hearing previously held. We had no written or presentations, no written notices or presentations in advance or at the public hearing. This approval will move us to second reading will move us to the appeal period, which is required under the Municipal Government Act and requires the appropriate ads be placed. As you may recall, this is a new rural development on a private road, creates 10 new lots through a subdivision. The subdivision has not yet been processed, but will be coming in shortly following the decision of council. And this is in keeping with what's happening in the neighborhood in the area in Wentworth and off the Valley Road. So it's a positive project to move forward. And as you recall, staff had recommended it previously, Your Worship, for approval. So just at this point, and there's any particular questions, I don't think anything was raised in the public meeting by any of the public or members of council, Your Worship. So unless there's specific questions, I stand quiet for a change.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Boone. So Councillor Redmond has her hand up. Is that for the motion, Councillor Redmond?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so the recommended motion is that council approve second reading of the amendment to Schedule A of the land use bylaw for the following rezonings. PID 25358581 from rural resource to recreational residential, and PID 25267402 northwestern portion from rural resource to recreational residential. And Councillor Redmond, you're making that motion?
Yes, I am. And I'd just like to say how good it is to see new development in our area.
Thank you. So could I ask for someone to second that, please? Seconded by Councillor Porter. So any questions or comments for Mr. Boone in regards to this agenda item? I don't see any on our screen either. Seeing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Boone. Appreciate that. Thank you. 6.2 municipal heritage property application for registration. Mattinson, Hansford Cemetery, 536 Hansford Road, Hansford. Mr. Boone.
Sorry, your worship, I
Good.
jumped the gun there.
It's all good.
So your worship, this was presented to Committee of the Whole, which operates as our Heritage Committee. And at this point, we want to advance the decision of council, or the consideration of council of the application. Just trying to get my report back up here, sorry. There's just a move in here in the order, sorry. So your worship, as you can recall in the discussion with the Heritage Committee and acting as Heritage Committee through Committee of the Whole, presentation was made in respect to staff recommendation, but the decision of council at the time was to move forward with the heritage designation. And at this point, staff have no objection to, obviously, to that change, but we have to still present it to council to formalize it. So it's a unique application, as I mentioned during the presentation Heritage Committee, but for the benefit of open council. I think this is a group that has worked hard to get this this property back in shape over the last number of years, and have a dedicated group. And even though, as I mentioned in the presentation to the Heritage Committee / Committee of the Whole, although there's no significant heritage events associated with the property, it's fair to say that it does have some value in respect to how it's been reinvigorated and how it's got support from the community, and the organization takes care of it. So at this point, it's a matter of council considering the recommendation of the Heritage Committee and moving forward with the designation.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve heritage designation of the Mattinson Hansford Cemetery, 536 Hansford Road, Hansford. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councilor O'Telling, second by Deputy Mayor Joseph. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 6.3 Heritage Property Deregistration Application, Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Worship. Again, reflecting back to our meeting of Committee of the Whole, which operates as our Heritage Advisory Committee. This is the application from All Saints Parish acting on behalf of the owner at 40 Chapel Street, which is the Roman Apostolic Corporation, excuse me. And the recommendation at the time was for council to set and hold the public hearing. We are specific with the date in the recommendation today in front of council, your worship, to hold that public hearing on December 20th. As I mentioned during the Heritage Committee meeting, deregistrations require 30 days notice, so a little different than the planning applications that council sees before them. So this requires a little bit more notice, and in order to get into the paper, that's why the recommendation for December 20th and holding the hearing. So the recommendation of Heritage Committee is now before council, open full council for consideration and setting that public hearing. So unless there's specific questions, I think the key to this, your worship, is it's a bit unique in looking at the criteria around heritage properties, but this is the reason that we have the public hearings. And probably more importantly, it's an opportunity for the church to look at moving the property. They have 3 parcels kind of involved in the church property. And in order to move it as a package, the deregistration is seen as the key to make it more marketable. So thus the reason for the original application. So unless there's specific questions, it's before council to set the hearing.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council hold a public hearing at the December 20th, 2023 regular council meeting to consider the application to deregister 40 Chapel Street, Spring Hill, PID 25224874 as a municipal heritage property. Someone like to make that motion? Moved by Councilor McCormick, second by Deputy Mayor Joseph. Any questions or comments in regards to this agenda item for Mr. Boone? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Excuse me. Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Excuse me. that brings us down to our last agenda item, 6.4, Bill 340, which is the Municipal Government Act review, this before the Nova Scotia Legislature. So I'm just going to take a moment just to kind of capture for you, for our council, what this issue is about and what we're kind of looking for, hoping to do. So in the mid-90s, the province of Nova Scotia entered into an agreement with the municipalities, which formed the service exchange agreements of the day. So one of the most important parameters, I think, around that agreement at the time, more so than determine what was municipal responsibility versus provincial, was to balance. So at the end of the day, they wanted to ensure there was a zero balance. So no either unit would end up with anything but a bottom line of zero. So one would not. A good example, one of those things, Mr. Harrop can probably speak a little better to this, but one of the issues, for example, are J-class roads. So I'm always asked, how do we end up with these J-class roads? The province owns them. That's why that was put in there to help get to a zero balance. So that was 25 plus years ago. So in 2020, when the Minister of Municipal Affairs mandate letter was to open up discussions, renew negotiations with municipalities in regards to a new service exchange agreement, what that may look like. The NSFM reached out to several mayors and wardens, of which I was one, to represent them on this committee. Deputy Mayor LaFlash, Deputy Minister, he went Deputy Mayor, give him a demotion.
Yeah.
Should have said Gilroy. Deputy Minister LaFlash was appointed from the province's side, so he and I co-chaired these meetings for the last year and a half, and there was a lot of discussion. You'll hear some folks this week are talking about NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So everyone that was a part of that committee, including myself, agreed that we would sign non-disclosure agreement so that we could ask the province for very specific information around legislation, Department of Justice, Department of Finance. And they could disclose that information for us for the good of our negotiation discussions or advice, without the concern that some of this information might be shared publicly. So although not everyone outside of the committee agree with it, that's what was, and I supported that 100% because I felt that if we were going to be able to get the information that we require for municipality's sake, we need to be able to ask for that information, sensitive information, a lot of times without the concern about it, being released publicly within a period after the meeting. So that happened, a lot of meetings. As a result of the meetings as well, there was a survey that went out to members of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, of which we were one. Survey was sent out. We asked Mr. Harrop to respond on our behalf. Priorities were identified from all the municipalities, and I ironically, or I guess not ironically, but not surprisingly, many of the priorities were similar priorities for all the municipalities. So that survey results were gathered together. We took that survey with what municipalities were telling us, and we used that survey as a guide as we continue to meet with the province to ensure that what the municipalities were saying were important to them. We made sure that the province knew that that's what was guiding us through the discussions and negotiations. So that happened. As I said, it happened over a year and a half. This past summer, after we finished the meetings, the response to that was sent out to municipalities, and there was an opportunity for municipalities to join in consultation with the province to respond back to what we heard and how they felt about what was being proposed jointly from our committee and the province. Some of you took part in those public meetings. I attended every one. There were 13 of them, and I made sure as co-chair that I wanted to attend them all to hear what everyone was saying. So we did that, attended all those meetings. As a result of that, there were a couple of changes made to the agreement or the proposed agreement. So as a result of that, the province then decided, and we asked if there's tremendous benefit here. There's about $50 million on the table for municipalities being offered by the province. We felt that if next year will be an election year for municipalities, and the following year will be an election for the province. So I felt that if we were going to be able to see the benefit of this for municipalities, we asked the province this summer if they would, to the best of their ability, attempt to bring this before the Nova Scotia Legislature this fall session, so that we could get it done, so we wouldn't have to worry about next year all this work, being shelved somewhere and maybe never see the light of day. It was a big ask, but the province at the end of the day agreed. That led to Bill 340 being brought before the legislature. It's on the agenda now, and it's being debated in the legislature, and it's soon to go to law amendments. So I just want to take a moment just to highlight a little bit what the benefits for the municipality of Cumberland will be if Bill 340 passes, and what will come out of the regulations. And I know Greg will probably want to speak to the municipal finance capacity grant, because it's a financial thing, and it probably should be better explained by him than me. That was one part of it. So every municipality, not every, all municipalities are considered for a financial capacity grant. It depends on, there's some parameters around what determines whether you get it or not. And again, Greg could probably explain that better than I, but it's related, Greg, to the uniform assessment, isn't it? And in the new formula that was agreed to by our CAOs that are on the committee, changes a bit, and it does change what the future looks like for some municipalities. One of which, so 17 of the municipalities will be impacted in a negative way as a result of a change in this formula. That means that 17, if you just look at the capacity grant only, 17 municipalities would receive less money than we receive today. But we asked the province, I think it's 3.1 million we asked to have injected into this program for the next 5 years, to which they agreed that would keep us whole for that length of time. But again, ours is a little different than the rest because of the dissolution of Spring Hill and Perrysburg. Again, you're going to speak to that, Greg? Okay, good. Thank you. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is corrections and housing. So we as a municipality, all municipalities, we annually pay money to the province for corrections and housing. Corrections for us is $300,000 a year. Housing is $445,000 a year. And I can tell you that the information that we saw that, and I think our portion for housing has to do with the cost of housing in this province, and that the cost of that is going to continue to get higher each year. So part of the agreement would be that we would no longer have to pay corrections and housing to the province of Nova Scotia, which to us is somewhere in excess of $700,000 a year savings for us. Huge. Obviously schools. So currently depends when the school was built, whether it was pre-1981 or not. There's a difference of whether the municipalities end up owning the schools or the province owns them, formerly department or school boards, I guess. But what the province has agreed to is that schools now will become, so for example, we have 2 next year. They're going to be coming up to be declared surplus by the Department of Education in the province. So, you know, there's a real need for housing. We know that. However, I heard from some municipalities who have told me that, you know, they demolish schools that cost them $750,000 for environmental fees, for example. So what the province has agreed to, they've agreed to assume responsibility and take over these schools. So next year for us, they would take over the schools. But the caveat is that if we decide that, for example, one of those schools we wanted to keep for housing, we had an opportunity for a developer to take it, we can negotiate with the province what that cost would look like for us to actually keep the school. So we would basically, they would take it over, we'd purchase it back from them, maybe for a developer or development, if we so decide we want to do it. If we don't want to, it's theirs and they can deal with it. There's a new infrastructure program as part of this program, part of this bill that's being suggested, $15 million. So it would be a $15 million infrastructure program that each municipality would be able to apply for. It'd be some priorities around what it would look like and what we would be able to apply for. But the government's also agreed that they would allow municipalities to apply for and use that for leverage, you know, in regards to stacking, for example, for other programs, provincial or federal. So we may have something we want to apply for. We don't have the money. We apply to get part of this money from this program, and we'll be able to use that for to leverage other monies for projects that maybe that we want to follow. The last part of this for us is in regards to roads. So Greg was part of a roads committee a number of years back, and they did a lot of work and had suggestions around what a new roads program could look like in the province. There were 2 parts that we talked about this year that we accepted as a committee. One was in regards to routes and trunks that go through or into former towns and or former towns. So the only former towns in our municipality are Spring Hill and Perrysburg. But if we, you know, an example of Oxford. So Oxford at this time desperately need to do some work on their main street, for example, going through town. At this point in time, they're responsible to pay for 100% of that. If we decided to pave on the trunk going through Perrysburg, Councillor Goodman or out of, you know, currently this municipality is responsible to pay for the whole shot. This new agreement will allow for the province to cost share 50-50 with us on those kind of agreements. So Oxford's a great benefit, Amherst, the former towns here in the county. That's kind of the gist of the whole thing. Municipal units right at this time are putting this before their councils to make sure that councils understand where we're at with this bill 340. I will say that I think there's some, I sat on this for a year and a half, so I know exactly what the intent of the government is. I know what the intent of this committee was. I think there's some misinformation being shared around the province. Unfortunately, I will say this, I'll go on the record to say it. I'm going to appear at law amendments whenever they call it. I've never seen an opportunity like this before for municipalities to have an opportunity to share in $50 million, decide how it's going to be spent, and to talk about, eliminating things like cost for housing and the corrections. I mean, this is going to do nothing but get higher every year from now on. And there's a tremendous opportunity for municipalities in Nova Scotia. There's a huge opportunity here for us here in Cumberland, I think. Anyway, Greg, do you want to talk about the financial capacity grant?
Sure.
I haven't said too much about it. I hope and confuse people. Go ahead. Thank you.
So I passed around the fact sheet, the front and back, bluish fact sheet. Your council would probably recognize that from, I passed it along in August in advance of the engagement sessions that NSFM had. So just to talk about the potential impact that this has for Cumberland County. His worship talked about housing and corrections, and those are in common with other municipalities in the province. We stand to gain in the neighborhood of $750,000 a year, and so as his worship said, that's a significant gain. But we share that in common with the other municipalities. That's a good thing. Speaking about the municipal financial capacity grant, or what we used to call equalization, we currently receive about $1.5 million worth of municipal financial capacity grant from the province of Nova Scotia. The reason why we receive that much is it reflects agreements made, letters of intent signed between the municipality and the Department of Municipal Affairs when Spring Hill and Parsboro dissolved, essentially freezing those amounts at the amounts that the towns were receiving. The letters of intent also said at the end of those 5-year periods after the letters of intent were signed, that equalization, we'll call it equalization for just ease of reference, that equalization would then revert to the formula in existence at the time. So the formula in existence at the time right now would mean that instead of receiving $1.4 million, we'd receive about $750,000. That's a significant drop, obviously. This agreement, though, as worship pointed out, allows for a top up for those municipalities who would receive less equalization. So this one is not necessarily in common with all of the other municipalities in the province, with other 16 of them, although outside of Cape Breton, we would stand to gain the most. We're going to get a top up of about $750,000. So, those two numbers together alone is almost $7.5 million in the next 5 years. Obviously, we'll have to have some conversations as those folks who are here. We'll have to have some conversations at the end of those 5 years about what those financial, conversations look like and what allowances have to be made. But this is a good deal for Cumberland County. We're getting a top up of $750,000 a year for 5 years for equalization, or the municipal fiscal financial capacity grant, and about $750,000 a year worth of housing and corrections. So I can say without reservation that this is a good deal for Cumberland County. It's my opinion that council should endorse it. As worship said, lots of opinion out there, and look, folks are entitled to have their own opinion. I can say that for Cumberland County, this is a good deal for us. Worship, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And yeah, just something just adding to that. So there were other items that came as a result of survey from municipalities, and there are issues like policing, fire. I don't remember some of them right off, but anyway, excuse me. Some that we're going to take a lot longer discussion and suggestions and negotiation and whatever you want to call it, because this committee was really formed to be an advisory committee to the government as opposed to a negotiating committee. But anyway, I thought we ended up in a real good spot here. But those other longer term discussions that need to be held, the government's agreed to put them what they're calling Schedule A. So rather than just forget about them and say, no, we don't have time to do it, they've agreed they'll win the Schedule A, and they'll be starting discussions right away. If Bill 340 passes, they're prepared to get back to the table, start discussion those longer term issues that affect municipalities every day. So that's a real great thing too. And I think that passing this bill actually allows for a relationship, I believe, between the municipalities and the province of Nova Scotia like I've never seen myself before. And I'll admit it, even when I was there for 12 years, there was never an opportunity for municipalities to be at the table and actually help direct their own future. And I think it's before us now. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments. If not, I would ask for a motion. Oh, sorry, do you have a question, Councilor Gould, please?
Just, thank you, Your Worship.
Yep.
Just the one question on the grants, application grants for J-class roads. There was an opportunity before to apply for 50 or pay 50% and apply for the other 50% to get roads looked after a little bit quicker. And that was a part of the program. The night I listened to it on the, did one of the sessions, that was some of the talk. They were adding more money to that because there wasn't a lot of money to that. But one of the conditions was if you did that, then you were going to take ownership of the road once
Yeah.
you did that. Is that still in place? Because there was a lot
Yeah.
of talk on that then.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that because I should have said that and I forgot. So in the roads part, I said it was the A, and I told you what A was about roads through towns, former towns, right? The second part was B, which talked about the opportunity for municipalities through like three different ways municipality can end up actually owning a road. If the province was no longer going to, Councilor Gilroy has one we talked about in your area. If the province is no longer going to maintain it or falls below a certain standard, the municipality has some options around cost sharing, getting the province to pave, and then we take it over. If there was any issue out of all this over all those meetings we had, there was any issue that was divisive and there was no agreement on, was that municipalities were afraid that it seemed like the province was trying to put roads on them without their, so that whole part B of the roads discussion has been put out of the agreement and it's put into Schedule A for further discussion down the road. So that'll come back to municipalities. If they want a further discussion, if they don't, the province will just forget it. But that was part of the recommendations from the committee back. But obviously when municipalities heard about this and had a chance to talk about it, I think in every one of those all 13 meetings, some municipality said along the way, we don't think this is right. We're not interested in taking over roads. We don't have the ability. We don't have the equipment. We don't have the, so that was very clear, Councilor Gould, that was not something that municipalities were interested in. So that's been taken out of the agreement. So that'll go in Schedule A for further discussion, but that is not part of 340 and it won't be in the regulations. Thank you for asking. I'm glad you did because I forgot about it. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments or questions or? So if not, I would like to ask for a motion. Someone to make a motion if council is so inclined. Make a motion that this council supports Bill 340 and that we're asking that it be with this council supportive of that bill in regards to its current standing that be passed the legislature. Councilor McCormick, you making that motion? Okay. Moved by Councilor McCormick, second by Councilor Porter. Any questions or comments? Or call for the question. Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, nay. Then the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, folks. And again, I just want to say this before we leave it. It is a good deal for Cumberland County, no question. That brings us down to, thank you, folks. That brings us down to number 7. Councilor, did you have your hand up? Or, oh, sorry, you're scratching. Be careful now. Information item. We don't have any. No. We do not have any information items, so that brings us to the agenda, end of our agenda. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
We have council recognition.
You do have one?
I
Oh,
forgot.
You-
Okay.
okay.
Sorry, I apologize. Mike, sorry.
sure. If you have one, we'd love to hear it.
I did send an email requesting it, so
Council recognition.
just a couple of things.
Councilor Gilroy for the last time.
There you go. Thank you, your worship. I'd like to say thank you and acknowledge the Tidnish Bridge and Shinnecock Volunteer Fire Departments and the Tidnish Crossroads Community Association. They recently, during Fire Prevention Week, put on an event at Northport Elementary, whereby all the students and staff and whoever volunteers that showed up to help out all received a free meal, and the bill for all the food was paid for by the TCCA. The firemen from those two departments put on a number of fire safety demonstrations, some inside the school, some outside. It was a very informative, probably about a 4-hour session. And every child in the school or family in the school received a smoke detector to take home. And so anyways, I'd like to say thank you to them. And I'd also like to acknowledge Caitlin Gerard, who is currently traveling on her way to Perry, Georgia for the World Barrel Racing Championships, and wish her good luck in that endeavor. They've been fundraising there for a couple of years now, and I think she had qualified back in the middle of the COVID pandemic and was unable to travel at the time. And so now she's officially on her way, and they had a send off in Leicester yesterday, and we wish her all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, we certainly do, Councillor Gill. On behalf of the council, we wish her all the best and good luck and safe travels. Any further council recognitions? Seeing none, we'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Gilroy, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks, very much. And thanks, everybody. Thank